Hey guys, welcome to the Mr. Maple Show. I'm Matt. Today we've got one of my favorite topics for you. We're often known here at Mr. Maple for our Japanese maples, but we do a ton of interesting conifers, and we're beefing up our numbers on conifers right now. There's a ton of interesting ones coming back into stock. If not at the time you're seeing this video, then very soon on one of our upcoming 10 at 10s. Now we list 10 new trees every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. We actually list 20. Sign up for our weekly emails to get notified when those plants are back in stock. So guys, conifers are amazing. There's some really interesting dwarf evergreen conifers that can provide a lot of interest in the landscape. Today I'm going to be talking to you about 5 of my favorite dwarf compact conifers for small spaces. And there's some really nice ones that we'll be listing here on MrMaple.com. 5. So guys, let's start off here at number 5 with one of my favorite dwarf Hinoki cypresses. We've got Cypress obtusa Chairman. Now, Chairman is a great compact dwarf, and it's popular for so many reasons. This plant's going to work zones 4 through 8. Now, you may have seen this one in our Mr. Maple display garden there at my uncle's place at Hillstone Arboretum. We have a really nice 20-plus-year-old one there in the garden. It's probably around 5 feet tall already. We list this dwarf Hinoki at only about 3 feet even in 10 years. So really nice compact tree. One of my favorite things about this are the shapes that it creates. It creates some small snake-like structures. I mean, it has these tubes that kind of extend up. It reminds me a little bit of what we all love about Makawa Yetsubusa as maple collectors, because it has these large protruding arms that just kind of float out. It has that ethereal quality to it, making this an excellent tree for railroad gardens, fairy gardens, or just small area conifer gardens. Now, it has a dark bluish green color to it that actually gets a little bit of frosting. A really unique tree. Good drainage is key for this one. It was one of the American Conifer Society Conifers of the Year, I believe in 2011, but it's one that's highly recognized for good reason because of its small stature and excellent shape. 4. All right, guys, coming in at number 4, I've got Picea sitchins Uncle Wiley. Now, I've seen this one likely misspelled several times as Uncle Willie. Maybe we got Willie Nelson as an uncle when we're naming this one, I don't know, but it should be Wiley, W-I-L-E-Y. This is a really cool Picea, so it makes it a dwarf Sitka spruce. This is one found by Doug Wilson. Really nice compact form. I love anytime you can include some of these compact spruces. This one's going to work zones 2 through 8, and it really brings some of the most interesting shades of like light blue. Really gets kind of a almost frosted tips to that really almost looks like dew settling on this tree in the morning, and just a lovely plant. Now, we typically list this one at a 2 foot, even in 10 years, by about 2 feet wide. So a really nice compact globular shape, and really a really nice compact form. I mean, it's one you can put in the container garden or in the smaller area conifer garden. Now, remember, going 2 through 8, putting it in the container is typically going to take it down one zone, so you may have to protect a little bit in some of those colder zones, but it's a perfect candidate for a colder and a more compact dwarf conifer. Now, Doug Wilson found this one at the University of Oregon, and it's a really nice compact shape. It is Picea sitchins, which is often confused for Picea pungens because of the great color this one has. 3. So next up on my list, I've went with a Japanese white pine, Pinus parviflora fukuzume. Now, this is a very compact form that's going to work zones 5 through 7. Very popular for bonsai. This is probably one of the larger ones I actually have here on the list as far as width goes, but not a lot of height. This one typically reaches about 3 feet in height by about 4 to 5 feet in width. One of the reasons I love this one is because it kind of makes one of those quintessential Japanese garden style shapes on its own. It's an easy one to prune. Its short needles make it a perfect plant for bonsai, and that's why Fukuzume is heavily sought after for bonsai, being a Japanese white pine with such dense intensity and short needles. But yeah, it kind of just makes me think about Japanese gardening in general. The way it's colored and the way it's shaped already have that aesthetic of somebody who's pruned this heavily, and it's just an awesome plant to be adding for a compact space there in the garden. 2. Okay guys, coming in here at number 2, I've got one of my favorite Colorado blue spruce, and that's Picea pungens Donna's Rainbow. Now, this one has a small conical shape at around 3 to 4 feet, even in 10 years, It's an excellent tree for its shape and color. I picked a lot of blues. I guess I'm really partial to the blues. I love blues music, maybe that's why. It is a compact, dense form that gives you some just frosted blue tips to it. It almost has a glossy sheen to it. Now, Donna's Rainbow is very much that perfect little Christmas tree shape in the garden. It's a beautiful one, especially when it's putting on new growth in the early spring. I'm a huge fan of this one, whether it's in the container or in the conifer garden. It's an excellent Colorado blue spruce. You know, it's one of those ones that's very disease resistant and very colorful. Now, this one's going to work zones 3 through 7. Number 1. All right, guys, so at number 1, I picked one of the collector favorites. It's also one of my all-time favorites, Conestoga Sea Urchin. Now, sea urchin is a really unique plant that works zones 3 through 8. One of the reasons I love this one is its small stature with width. Typically no more than about 3 feet tall by about 4 feet wide, even in 10 years. It is a small, compact version that only puts on a couple inches of growth a year. Now, sea urchin is one of the most showy ones. This was a broom. It's actually a seedling selected from a broom found by Dr. Sid Waxman. Now, Sid Waxman did some of the most interesting work on pine witches brooms. And one of his theories is that all witches brooms and pines are female. And because of this, he was able to collect seed from that, which led to his selection of sea urchin. Now, sea urchin just looks like a little pin cushion. It's low and wide. That foamy color with that needle texture gives it some of the most interesting growth, and it looks like a sea urchin in the landscape, so it's perfectly named. I love when a tree lines up with the perfect name with the perfect size, and sea urchin certainly brings that to the landscape. Now, I have one on a standard. You can grow it higher up or lower down. Sometimes I really like the low ones because they get so wide, it really makes a nice little plateau, and it makes a beautiful accompaniment to anything in the garden, whether it's a maple or more conifers. This one's going to look great in the fairy garden, the container garden, really anywhere you put it. Sea urchin's going to go out. And again, it's one of those easy ones for kids to get into because they're going to remember the animal names. They're always going to come check on the sea urchin. It's got that animal characteristic to it, and it actually has that trait that matches up with the name, so it's perfectly named. I think you're going to want to check this one out. When it hits Mr. Maple, they do tend to sell out really quickly. But number 1 on my compact conifers list is Conestoga Sea Urchin. Guys, I hope you like this top 5 small conifers for compact spaces. These are some of my favorite little dwarf conifers that we'll be either offering now or coming soon to MrMaple.com. We're always working to bring back some of the more interesting conifers, and conifers give us such unique plants for small, compact spaces. Some of these dwarfs really fit excellent where a lot of other plants may get too big long term. Now, that's really why conifers are so popular. There's so much density to them and evergreen beauty that these things are going to go out and look amazing all 4 seasons in your landscape, and really in small spaces. As gardeners, we're all continuing to find plants we like, so our gardening space continues to get smaller every single year. And these are plants that can go out, perform in small areas, and really bring a lot of high interest. I hope you like this kind of thing. If you have, make sure to sub here on the Mr. Maple Show. And if you really like this show, you can check out through the gift shop with MrMaple.com. Definitely go check us out on MrMaple.com. It's the best way to support our channel. Like, subscribe, and share. And as always, sign up for our weekly emails here on Mr. Maple. We add, trees every single week, but we're also bringing a weekly podcast, guys. So definitely sign up for our show here on YouTube and find us on all major podcast platforms for those audio formats. Thanks so much for watching. God bless. Have a great day.